Hey team, it's snowing, it's Monday morning here, and I'm heading to the airport. Flying to Phoenix for a very, very short conference, more like a meeting, and then flying back. So won't really have too much opportunity to enjoy Phoenix. I checked the weather, and it's going to be 50 degrees, so slightly warmer than here, but it's not like I'm going to Phoenix and enjoying 85-degree weather like last time I was there. So anyway, what I want to discuss with you today is two things that I think that really any IT or security a person should be getting a hold of right now as far as learning. One is containerization. If you are planning on being a IT administrator, an IT manager, a CIO down the road, or if you're in cybersecurity and you're planning on being a CISO, or if you're a security engineer, you need to understand how containerization works, what the caveats are, what the security implications are, what the performance implications are, what complexities it adds to your management cycles, to your environment. If you have a dev team and you're coming up with a cutting edge app, and it is, going to be using Kubernetes and microservices. Basically, every link, every button, every action, every ad that loads, every part of the feed that loads, everything in the app is driven by microservices, by different microservices, which are handled by, clustered services in Kubernetes. If your dev team is designing that and you're an IT administrator, do you know how to deploy those apps, support those apps? What does that mean for DR for you? What does that mean for monitoring? Are you monitoring, application performance? Are you monitoring it up at that layer of the OSI model? Are you monitoring containers that get killed off or that start, misperforming, and so they have to be killed and then respawned, that kind of thing? And so you can identify problems there. Are you monitoring overall compute load? Or are you pretty much ignoring Kubernetes in general and just focusing on the core VMs that are running this cluster? And just making sure you're just stuck at the infrastructure layer, supporting the disks and the compute that it runs on. Now, I encourage you, especially with cloud technologies like AWS and Google Cloud Platform and Azure and Oracle Cloud, to start investigating the Kubernetes technologies that they have, like AKS with Azure is the Azure Kubernetes service. There are caveats, what kind of containers you can run. There's a lot involved in configuring and using them. And then let's say you were using Kubernetes on VMware. Let's say you were running VMware, and I forget what they rebranded the thing as recently. It's like Tamu or something, but their clustering service that runs in VMware kind of on the hypervisor to support Kubernetes. And then think about, okay, if I'm building Linux servers, what do I have to do to set up Kubernetes and start running containerization? Start running those containers. Let's say your development team gives you a bunch of containers and says, okay, these are your container images. Or let's say they're not even doing that. Let's say they're giving you code and you're setting up the deployment, automatic deployment, using, tools, whether it's Chef or Puppet or GitHub, and auto deploying containers with their code. Do you know what you're doing to do that? So, and then when you're becoming an executive, obviously when you're becoming a leader, it's not as important to understand how to do the technical implementation anymore. It's understanding the risks and the caveats and the expenses involved. Is Kubernetes going to give us a platform that we can secure? And how are we hardening those systems and those containers to prevent, memory leak between them, etc. And then how do we recognize an intrusion and how do we stop it? I mean, stopping it to me is killing a container, and spawning a new container, but how do we handle that? How do we notify and alert? Not only that, but on the application layer, assuming your development team is constantly pushing updates and code, how are you identifying intrusion into the application, not just the container infrastructure? So to me, there's a lot to think about with Kubernetes, and the same thing, the same risks with Docker Swarm and any other containerization technology. You need to start thinking about that as an IT person. If you're an IT person who's stuck in workstation world, right now your value is very limited. Like, your value is a $40,000 person out of community college. That's what your value is. So, in order to level up and be more valuable to your organization and organizations in the future, to me it's imperative to pick up those skills. Pick up that capability of managing Kubernetes. Pick up that capability of managing AKS, Kubernetes in the cloud, or Docker Swarm. Try playing with configuring it, using it, deploying your own stuff to it. Look into Azure, look into AWS, look at the containerization technologies available there. Play with securing them and take a look at, investigate, watch, trainings on it. Certification's awesome too, at least then you have some base level understanding of what's going on there. But implementing your clustering service and actually using it is going to open your eyes to problems you didn't realize were there, or risks that you didn't realize you had. Like, this configuration, are the developers changing this configuration? Do I have eyes on whether or not the AKS configurations are changing? What if they're respecing stuff? What if they're going to dangerously low limits? What if, they're dangerously low limits, it takes so long to spawn a new container, and our processes are killing off containers if there is a performance problem or an intrusion? You could DOS yourself. What do I mean by that? I mean, you could be in a state where if there's an attack going on, and if there is a performance problem, you could be killing containers faster than you can spawn new ones. And so what's the result? None of your services work. Your website doesn't work, your app doesn't work, etc. So, think of these things. And even out of containerization, if you're using, Azure, web services, or another, if you're using VMs, and you have a load balancer, or let's say you're on Amazon and you're doing the same thing. You have a load balancer and you're spawning and scaling up and scaling down. Really, it's called scaling out. Growing by adding VMs or reducing VMs. What if you reduce VMs to too low of a level and we can't handle normal traffic load, let alone an attack? So building these mechanisms in so you don't really DOS yourself when there's a poor performing app, or when there's an attack going on, even if it's pretty insignificant, nuking containers. How about the possibility of spinning up a whole new AKS instance, a whole new resource group, a whole new everything, new VNets, all of your connectivity again by code, redeploying your entire environment, redeploying all your microservices, and then changing your load balancer to send load to that new cluster, and just leaving your old cluster, running with the attacker in it, so you can do forensics and incident response on it, or you can just kill that whole cluster. I know there's a lot more involved and a lot more time involved in spinning up a new cluster. How about the idea of having a second cluster running? So there's a lot of ideas in architecture to think about. I love to think about these things. If you ever want to brain out how to come up with some great resilient applications, so that's the first thing is containerization. And IT and security administrators have been like avoiding it because it's freaking confusing. The tech's changing too fast. What's this Kubernetes thing? What's this Docker thing? What's it like? How does this apply to anything else? That has all almost overwhelmed the brains of a lot of IT. So make sure you pick it up. Next, AI. So understanding AI basics. There's a lot of stuff on edX and Coursera there. Playing around with AI engines. Like I play around with ChatGPT and Jasper and DALL-E a lot. Those are amazing to me. But using those AI engines as a part of your day-to-day life is one thing. That's what I've started doing. I use them every day, literally every day. And there's a ton of others. Academically, there's Cactus. There's a ton of AI resources where you can give it a data set and ask it a question. And then there's programmatic usage of it. There's all of the AI features in Azure AWS. Face recognition, voice recognition, voice to text, text to voice, etc. Using AI that you can start to use. From a IT and security perspective, all of us are overwhelmed with stuff all day long. Security is amount of alerts and incidents, and how are we handling all this? IT management's pretty much the same thing. Number of tickets, number of alerts, like all this stuff. Where can AI fit in? Can you have AI be on your support desk responding to tickets with you? Handling the easy ones or handling the hard ones? It's funny because we keep thinking that AI is going to be what handles the easy stuff, yet it's handling the hard stuff for humanity right now. Now, they had an AI lawyer the other day that worked a case, and then they had an AI. AI's been in healthcare for a long time and doing diagnosis and things like that. So we're throwing the hard things at AI, not the easy things. So ticket escalations, things like that. Support problems, outages. How do you teach AI to respond to that stuff? Probably the same way you teach it to process any other data and input. If it's able to come up with a diagnosis on a human condition, healthcare condition, which may be complex, I think that it has a similar amount of complexity in a application environment or a security incident. So, start using AI. Why do I say this? There's going to come a time when your productivity is lower than other people that use AI. And people are going to look at you and say, Jane, you're only handling 3 tickets a day, but Steve, Bob, and Jill are handling, 42 tickets a day. And you, Jane, understand that there's no way you can manually handle more than maybe 5 or 10 tickets a day. How are they handling that many? Maybe they're using AI for root cause analysis. Maybe they're using it for data correlation and finding out what's going on. Maybe they're using it for gathering information from the client and handling the client comms. Maybe they're using it for running a lot of automatic remediation scripts that they came up with, or the AI came up with. There, are endless possibilities of using AI to improve what you're doing. So I just am trying to push people towards familiarization with containerizations and using AI. Get familiar with these technologies, because then if you don't, you're going to be one of the grumpy old men or ladies that is like the ones we have now that refuse to use a computer. You're the one who refuses to use containerization and AI, when all of the next generation will, and your value is going to diminish quickly. You're the person who goes into a workforce and can't use a computer anymore. That kind of thing. So I would accelerate your learning in that area. There are classes. Pluralsight has classes. LinkedIn Learning has classes. I love both of those resources. YouTube, edX, Coursera. These are all great resources to start learning this stuff. So yes, I know you're busy. Yes, I know you have hobbies, a family, etc., responsibilities. Yes, I know work is killing you and keeping you busy. But if you're not investing in your time in learning more and getting better, then you never will. If you're not investing your energy in learning new things, nothing's going to help you learn them. You're going to have to go out of your way to try to learn them. If you don't, then you're going to reach a point where you're going to realize that you're the dinosaur. You're the one who hasn't kept up with technology. So I just want to caution everybody about that and encourage everyone to keep learning. So happy Monday. I'm posting this today, so if you're subscribed, you'll see it right away. But if you're not subscribed, whatever day it is, have a great day. And feel free to reach out if you want to talk about application architecture, things like that. Oh, imagine if we had AI managing the configs for our AKS, our Kubernetes cluster, and then, handling how we're scaling, how we're responding to incidents. Oh no!